Alright, so another video. So what we're doing is we got here take the old robot and then take my like new slipstream joint robot. So that's that's what I like about the slipstream joint is how they're totally make totally different sounds there. Um, oh yeah, the sensation spectrum. So one thing is that I came across with doing karma pictures and stuff, and just in life, when it comes to tastes and smells and sights and everything, and any sort of sensation, feeling, and everything, there's a spectrum. So like there's a range, and a highs and a lows and a mids, and different colors across the spectrum. Different balances across the spectrum and stuff like that. So like you take like sugar. Sugar's like a high frequency, right? It's kind of like a high. You take like coffee. It's kind of like it's got some lows in it. You might take like a roast and that's got some lows in it. You know what I mean? So there might be a spectrum there to as far as our sensations are concerned and how they're communicated to our brain and stuff. And I guess trying to create a virtual sensational spectrum, sensationalizer that uses different spectrums and tries to recreate different sensations with whatever gauntlet stuff you have. I guess I don't know. But anyway, the sensation spectrum is just a way to describe stuff. Like you can describe stuff in highs and lows and mids and try to get a understanding of for what this taste tastes like before you ever taste it, right? So that's what the sensation spectrum's for. Oh, so this is about a machine that you stick your extracts into. So this machine, you say you came across a new planet or a new vegetable, or you genetically engineered a new grain or something, and you got some new extracts. So what you do is you stick it into this machine, and it makes compounds with all the other extracts. It goes and makes compounds and runs tests on all these other compounds that it's making, and it's kind of like an automatic, like where you take these tests, these material tests, and these chemical tests, this chemical makeup tests, and how this thing is composed of, how this extract is composed of, and how the compound that you composed is composed of, and you put it on the grid. So this machine automatically puts everything on the grid for you, does all the tests, the hot cold tests, the strong weak tests, brittle fortified, whatever kind of tests this you got on your list there that everyone came up with. Not just me, because I only have one or two examples, not a whole list. Yeah, and then it looks for interesting results. So it looks for anomalies and interesting results and high stats, or like combinative, anything that you get it to look for within the stats. It sort of like looks for and plucks out for you, so you know what compounds to look at automatically, because it ran through and tested all these compounds for you. So to create a machine like that, I just want to reiterate that's how I like my vegetables, where I feed the vegetables to the cattle, and then the cattle keep all the good nutrients in their muscles and stuff like that, and poop out all the bad nutrients. So when I eat the cattle, I get all the good vegetables. You know what I mean? You feed the vegetables to cattle. That is kind of like my Martin Luther King I was saying before, where what I did was, I fed everybody steaks and vegetables. That was sort of like my humanitarian work so far with in the afterlife and so forth, is that I work to make sure that everybody's having video games and vegetables and steaks and clothes and cars and spaceships, and even if you take micro machine heads or the tiny toys, micro toys, you're talking you can have like sophisticated particleized generator combustible 13-letter word thing here, and I've been working to make sure people get those. You know what I mean? So So that's pretty important because that is my. I don't really have poetry. I don't have like a book of parables. What I got is like stats, stats on who's doing better and how to do better. You know what I mean? To take a scenario and then, analyze the scenario and see who's performing the best. So I can take a problem and I can use science or math or even social, whatever, to solve it, so to speak. Um, oh yeah, so this is another prank for Bling Bling, I guess, or somebody like that. So this is I want to make you a bet. I want to make you a bet that I can make somebody appear out of nowhere. So, so what we'll do is we'll make somebody appear out of nowhere, and we'll get him to kick you in the nuts, so you know that he's real. So you know that this person appearing out of nowhere isn't a ghost or isn't a laser beam or whatever, isn't a projection or whatever. It's a real person appearing out of nowhere. We'll get him to kick you in the nuts. Okay. So we're just going to walk around the corner and down that hall, and oh, just wait. Yeah, I was making you a bet. So do you think I can make somebody appear out of nowhere? So if you want to take my bet that I can make somebody appear out of nowhere, just follow me, and we'll walk down the hall and around the corner, and I'll shoot, and I'll make somebody appear for you. And so basically what you do is you follow this person down the hall through an opening, and then this person jumps out of the opening and kicks him in the nuts. So you create the illusion that he's going to appear out of nowhere, and he just appears out of like around the corner and kicks you in the nuts, or out of this door opening and kicks you in the nuts. I actually tried to pull that stunt for real. Oh, so one of the big things about these virtual real worlds, where you recreate the real world, where you create a whole city or something, is watching things move. Is watching things come into the city, go from this place to this shipping center to that shop, into this customer's hands, into that customer's home, into the garbage, out to the garbage dump, into the ground again. Watching and learning how, basically creating logistical systems to control how items are moved from one place to another is like a huge thing in automatic world. If you want to automatically control things, you really want to have a handle on how items are moved and processed all logistically all the way through, right? So watching how things move. Another thing you can watch is money. If you do transparent money with some of these businesses and stuff, what we did was transparent money, and we saw where money traveled all the way around, like especially internal money and stuff, where people are spending money back to you. They're not just giving the money to some different store, where there's a lot of internal action going, so you can actually see where all the money's going and going around and around and around and so forth. So okay, and another thing I have here is AutoCAD. This is like, I might have said this, but this, I'll just reiterate it. This is like taking AutoCAD and then just building with components. Rather than making your own components, having a collection of gears and rods with different engineering specs and different focuses, and the different priorities and how these things are built for different reasons, for different purposes, specs on what purpose is this for. And rather than 3D modeling things, you just put together things. Like if you had all the pieces in the shop, you put gears. Like when you invent something, you just put everything together, right? And maybe you'd have to fabricate something or something to that nature, but you want to have your collection of it, all your materials and all your gears and all your rods and all your shapes and all your sizes and all your bearings, all in one go, so forth. And yeah, and then you also want to, so when you create components, you know which components you don't have. You know what I mean? You know which focuses you need to focus on when you go to create components as well. If you have the whole dictionary of all the components, engineering components across the world and so forth like that you can just use and build with. Yeah, so that's another video. That's all I got for a while, unless I come up with something, so we'll see.